well. We got Alaska Governor Bill Walker. If anyone wants to talk about energy, here's a man who knows about it. So thank you for coming to the State Solution. Now, as a way of introduction, Governor Walker is about as Alaskan as they come. I mean, your folks are pretty much pioneers in the state, correct? Yeah. Mom worked on the Alaska-Canadian highway?
Yes.
And you were born in Delta Junction?
Fairbanks, actually.
Oh, sorry, Fairbanks. Anyone here from, Alaska, or, anyone here from the north? Yeah, I mean, growing up there, growing up in Fairbanks, imagine you also worked on the Trans-Alaska Pipeline.
I did.
I mean, how much was energy, like, just part of normal life or energy development over there?
Well, I actually grew up in Valdez, born in Fairbanks, in Valdez and Delta Junction. Part of our energy for quite a while was just wood. Just, cut down trees and you made your own form of energy and whatnot. So it was tough.
We've seen with the present administration, it's been given like a big leg up to, oil and gas companies in the lower 48, of course, but also really pushing Alaskan energy, opening up ANWR. I mean, when you see that, is that something like finally we've gotten these goals, opening up the Alaska natural wilderness refuge? We've gotten these things done that we've been Alaskan, kind of promoting for a while.
Well, that was the deal with statehood. When we became a state, the statehood compact said that we were to live off of resources because we're the only state with ownership of the resources in the ground, so we're supposed to live off of our share, our 1/8 share, 1/6 share. So we need access in order to do that. And so what we've been trying for some time is to get access, and now we do have access for responsible development of that.
Now that you got the access, do you think there's going to be a rush from the likes of Exxon or other oil and gas companies to actually go up there? I think Interior had their last, round of auctions, asking companies if you want to drill for oil and gas in Alaska. I think only 2 companies showed up. So is there a problem of you can open up the access, but you can't get the companies to drill?
Well, actually, we just had our biggest lease sale up north, the state did, the biggest one we've had since the last 20 years. So there's a lot of interest in Alaska and in the Arctic right now as far as for exploration. So I think there'll be a tremendous amount of interest in the 1002 area for sure.
And what can you offer up there that they can't get from Texas or North Dakota or around the Appalachian area, the kind of fracking triangle where land's fairly cheap and access, pipelines are closed?
Well, a couple things. One is on shale oil, in the fracking, you have to keep drilling. It's kind of like walking up a down escalator. It just has to, you have to keep at it. Whereas in Alaska, certainly we have when you find large fields, and they last for a long, long time. The oil pipeline was supposed to last for 20 years, and we just celebrated 40th year last year. So it's the sheer volume that you're talking about, and once you drill, it's there.
Okay. I was reading your state of the state. I think your state gets 90% of its tax income or so from oil and gas taxes. Is that correct?
We used to.
Okay.
We don't now. When the price of oil went down, we went from 90% down to about 30%.
Oh, really? Oh. So how do you deal with that shortfall? Are you trying to diversify the Alaskan economy away from just oil and gas?
Well, we've actually diversified our economy over the years because we've had this happen. The cycle happens every once in a while. So we have actually diversified our economy. We just haven't diversified our source of revenue. Our source of revenue still remains almost exclusively from revenue off of oil. Okay. So we really are looking at diversifying. Now in time, we knew this day was coming. My predecessor long ago, Governor Jay Hammond, said this day of reckoning would happen, and we are. The price of oil has come down. Our throughput is down. We've got to diversify our revenue.
So are you looking at, like renewable energy projects at all, or is it just going to stay with oil and gas and whatever else?
No, we have a lot of renewable. We have a lot of hydro. We have a lot of hydro in Alaska. So we have a lot of wind. We have some solar as well. So we're diversifying that. But really, what we need to do is tie our economy with the cost of the services we provide, the governmental services for education and public safety, et cetera.
Okay. You also, I think, Alaska bought into an LNG project as well, correct? A liquefied natural gas to take gas from hoping to take gas from the North Slope and ship it overseas.
For 40 years, the oil has come up, and the gas has come up with it. We've separated them and put the gas back in the ground for 40 years. That was helpful to pressurize the field, but now we're looking at, now it's time to bring it to Alaskans, because we have areas of Alaska that still burn wood and or coal or diesel, and we want a cheaper source of energy for this. So it helps us significantly as it goes on to a market. We don't have enough people ourselves to do it just to our market. We're too small. And so it's really the Asian market. We've been actually selling LNG to the Asian market since October of 1969.
Yeah, is it Kenai?
Out of Kenai to Japan.
Okay. And then China sounds interesting, correct?
China is very interested in Alaska, very engaged. We're very pleased about that.
You were on the Trump trip to Alaska last year?
Yes, we went to China for the signing with Sinopec and Bank of China and the CIC, Sovereign Wealth Fund. It was a significant step forward.
How was that? How was traveling with Trump in China?
Oh, it was good. I mean, I actually traveled with him in China, but we were part of the same group, and I met President Xi in Alaska when he came back from visiting with President Trump in April. He stopped in Alaska we had a nice meeting, a meal, looked around Alaska a bit, or at least in the Anchorage area. So I met obviously both of them, so it was significant. What'd
you guys eat? I know the Chinese can be kind of picky about their food.
We ate wild Alaskan salmon. Of course we did.
Yeah.
And it was excellent, of course. It always is.
They've also signed, the Chinese signed a LNG agreement, a long-term agreement, I think it was like 20 years or so, to get gas out of Louisiana, out of the Cheniere project. When you see something like that, do you think that could have been us, or that should have been us?
You know, China's needs for energy are so huge. Any one project cannot come close to taking away that opportunity. So, you know, we're 7 to 9 days away by ship, rather than 35 days through the canal. I'm not trying to pick up any of my fellow governor states in the south necessarily, but we're very close to China in that regard. So I celebrate any way that the products are exported from the U.S. to help the balance of trade.
Okay. You're also trying to get a pipeline built to bring gas from the North Slope to Kenai, but that project's not quite up and going yet, correct? Can you fill us in on what the latest is on that?
Well, it is going. I mean, as far as the process is going, it's in FERC now for the approval. We're working with FERC on that. We've worked with certainly with the White House on that, and EPA and others. So it's going through the process and the permitting process. So there's been probably close to about $800 million thus far spent on that project.
$800 million. Oh wow. Okay.
So it's well underway.
Okay. And gas prices where they're at right now, does that help or hurt?
Well, it's not necessarily the gas prices today. It's where it's going to be when it's complete. Will be 2024, 25. In China, they look at the next 50 years, 75 years. They don't look at just sort of one-off for a couple of years. So they really look at the long-term, stable supply of energy from Alaska. We have the longest honored contract in history of LNG out of Alaska.
When you look down south, I mean, as I mentioned before, like the fracking boom that started probably down here in the lower 48 around 2006, 2008, it really scrambled the energy map. It used to be, if you wanted oil, it was basically Texas, Alaska, Gulf of Mexico. And then all of a sudden you can produce oil and gas super cheap. I don't want to say super cheap, they've really driven the price down. But using fracking technology, which opened up North Dakota, opened up the eastern, like Appalachian area. It gave new life into West Texas. So you got a fracking triangle. And that's where a lot of the interest has been. Do you look at that and think, I think Alaska's oil production is still down. I think it's, if you look at those areas, oil production shot up. We're in record highs. But Alaska has still been flat. Do you guys feel like you've been left out of the energy boom in the U.S.?
I don't think so. I think there's a renaissance of interest in Alaska. Yes, we've gone from 2.1 million barrels a day to 5,000 over a period of time, but there was this recent activity we've had. Oil search has just come from Australia and bought into a major development of the North Slope. We're seeing international interest in the state. So I'm very optimistic about the oil development in Alaska, just because people are putting their money where their mouth is on this thing, on the leases and the bids that we've been in.
Okay. And I want to, we're basically looking to see what's next with Alaska with oil and energy. It sounds like a lot of the pieces are there. You've got support from Senator Murkowski, Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski has been a huge proponent in of new oil and gas development in Alaska. The president and the Interior Department, which is a huge, that's probably the department most important to your state, pushing for energy in Alaska. The Interior Department is now saying they want to do a major reorganization to shake up the way they have their field offices. Does that impact you at all?
Oh, it does. I mean, not perhaps as much as other states, just because we are somewhat unique because of our location, but we certainly look at that, and they've done an awful lot of what we've certainly been good for Alaska. So we'll look at what the reorganization is going to look like, and I don't think it'll impact Alaska that much, but I think there's a reason for what they're doing. I know there's a reason, otherwise they wouldn't do it. And there's a lot of overlap between different agencies on how you permit on federal land. So I think they're trying to streamline that a little bit. So I think there's a good reason for what they're trying to do.
Okay. The other thing, some things the administration are doing don't sound so great for Alaska. Maybe I would imagine Canada's a pretty big trading partner with Alaska. If there is any move to make substantial changes to NAFTA, or as the president periodically threatens to leave NAFTA, where would that leave you guys?
Well, we do follow that closely. Every meeting we've been in with our neighbors from Canada, that has come up, and that there's concern about that. So we watch that closely. We have facilities in Canada as part of our Alaska Marine Highway System and those kinds of things. So we have a unique interaction with Canada. We're certainly mostly with British Columbia, Yukon Territory, Alberta. So we watch that closely. We absolutely do.
When you see the kind of the mood in the U.S. Congress right now, or sometimes talking to Canada a little bit of a relief for Alaska.
Well, we have a unique relationship with Canada, just because we share a highway, the Alcan Highway, which my mother came up to Alaska to work on. So we have a unique relationship. So we work with them.
Another thing, that you with governors, it seems. I mean, seeing the state of the Senate and the House on the Hill, where it's kind of constant bickering, it's famously nothing's really getting done. I mean, if you went back and told a 12-year-old if you had any kind of ambitions for government, would you tell them, looking at it now, just forget the Senate? I mean, do you think governors have governors are having more of a responsibility put on their shoulders now?
Well, I mean, I think it's unique for me because I'm the only independent governor in the 50 states. So being independent, I sort of look at it a little bit different. I can sort of, there are no lines for me. There's no, reaching across any line at all. It's just so I'm a bit unique in that regard. And so my ability to work with Congress and with administrations, I think is a bit unique as well, because I don't wear a uniform other than just the Alaska flag.
Okay. How is being an independent in Alaska work? I mean, looking at the Alaska state legislature, you have, I think, one Democrat who caucuses with the Republicans. If I'm reading this right, you have one Republican who doesn't caucus with anybody. I mean, is being an independent governor of Alaska almost something you have to be to kind of fit in there?
Oh, I think it helps, and here's why it helps. And for me, I can put together a cabinet. You look at our cabinet of about 25 people, and they see Democrats, Republicans, Independents, and go, who are you people? And I said, well, we're Alaska. We're just a group of Alaskans, and every decision we make is what's best for Alaska. And we have somebody or several people in each of our cabinet that can relate to each of the minorities, the majorities, Republicans, Democrats. So it's not like anybody feels like they've been left out of the discussion. So I just think it's a comfortable way to govern, because when we passed some of the stuff we passed on healthcare, it was nearly unanimous. It was just because it was the right thing to do, and so I think it does. I think it takes away some of the sort of the partisan competition. I'm not trying to pull somebody over into my party necessarily, because I don't have a party. I just focus on what's the right thing to do.
Does it make it more? You're running for re-election this year. Does it make it more difficult to get a coalition? I mean, as far as the voting days, if a lot of people are guided in the voting booth by I've been a Republican forever, I've been a Democrat forever. If you're an independent governor, does it make it? You have to take more steps to kind of get them into your fold?
Well, you have to work harder. I mean, you knock on a door and someone says, well, what are you? If you say you're a Republican or Democrat, they know probably within 60% kind of where you stand on different things, but when I show up as an independent, they go, all right, tell us about yourself. So I get to start from 0 and to 100, and I enjoy that. I really do. So that's what I tell others that are looking at doing what I've done. Of course, when I ran, the Democrat run also for governor joined me as lieutenant governor. So we did this. We just sort of chucked the initials at the door and said, let's just do this for what's good for Alaska. So it's pretty unique to have someone who's Republican move to independent and Democrat serving together by choice. It was something that actually it's a great way to do business. It's a great way to do business.
Because you mentioned in healthcare, you guys basically expanded Medicare in the state, and you decided to reimburse insurance companies that if a patient's care hits a certain ceiling, anything above that, the state will chip in, correct?
We did.
Yeah, and I've seen other states have also asked or kind of playing around with that model, seeing if it works for them.
We did. That was what I was referring to. Is we did pass that reinsurance provision. The legislature passed it unanimously, and now other states are looking at it as well. And so that's worked out. Actually, it brought down the cost of insurance by about a little over 20%.
20%.
So it's well worth it. And I know that other states, I've heard since I've been here, other states are looking at that same model.
Have you pitched to anyone on the Hill?
We have, and mostly this is a state issue, though, for the states to pick it up. So I've met with a number of governors that have said, thank you, we're going to do the same thing.
And that gets back to my earlier point where it seems where Congress, they say we want to restructure the health care plan or something, but it seems the governors are actually the ones picking up the ball and saying we have to figure this out. Are there other issues you see this happening where nothing's getting done in D.C.? For instance, the gun issue. We saw states in the Northeast say they're going to take a look at ways to try to reduce gun violence in their states. Do you think that's going to be more of a model now of states banding together to find solutions?
I think it's happening right now. I mean, I'm here now. I've been meeting with we had this morning had a rollout with Governor Kasich, Governor Hickman, myself, a Republican, a Democrat, and independent on a healthcare blueprint of going forth on healthcare. What we want to do is have the governors participate collectively to bring a plan to Congress and say, healthcare costs impact our state significantly. The cost and lack of health care as well.